All right, everyone, let's test here the sound first. Okay, that worked. So I can mute myself so I don't have to hear my own annoying voice. And if I hit this button, sweet. Okay, so just getting sound balance, things like that. There's nothing on there that I need to hide from you guys. Good. Okay, so we are all good. And just closed right there, right on the bell. So if you guys are new here, what we're gonna do for these live streams is we go over those short videos I make all throughout the week, talk about the markets and what I see there, talk about scan for whatever I'm gonna do for that next video. Then I break and leave and do that video. We'll talk a little bit about Stats Edge Pro there as well, how that's going and stuff like that as well, but not too much because I have a video coming up on Saturday. So if you're interested about that, just check on the channel. It will have what's included, what it is, more importantly, what it isn't, things like that. So that's what we're going to do. And as always, let me actually put, so I stop looking so much over here. Let me pop out the chat and then just move that over there. There. So now I'm not staring at. Just if you guys want to know my setup, I've got one giant ultra wide monitor over there, and then I've got a little one over here, like a 24-inch thing, just to throw stuff on. Hey, Sam. So let's just start right away by, I always torn, do the market wrap up first or do the market wrap up's probably the most interesting for the most amount of people. And I know most people duck out of most videos fairly early, so let's just do the market stuff first for the people that are just interested in that. Bring that over here and bring that out. Oh, thanks, Brett. But and I did not pay him to say that. Just some kind words about Stats Edge Pro. The nightly analysis has cranked out some good winners, and I think people are learning a lot from kind of my process, which is the point. So a lot of kind of on the fly chat about markets and everything as well. All right, so first, let's go into the weekly charts now that they've just closed. And I'm actually going to open up Koyfin at the same time and log into that because Koyfin gives me a good bird's eye view of what happened in the markets for this week. Bam. All right, so this is going to show a lot of kind of what happened this week. This is a good tale of the tape, and I just realized my mug is in the way. So if I hit that button, does it remove my mug? Yeah, it does. Perfect. Great. So basically what this is, I know it's confusing and it's a little ugly, but just bear with me, right? So each of these lines are a sector in the S&P 500, right? So this one I'm tracing is the XLRE, and if you want to look deeply, but I'll talk about it, you can look up here and they're color coded, so that one's real estate. So this is, and for people who've come here every week, this one can talk a lot about what's doing well, what's doing poorly, what's more volatile, what's less volatile, and then this guides me on where I go into my, which reminds me I should bring up my notepad on my iPad. notes. There. And this will kind of guide my thinking of what do I really want to look into and what's not really interesting from kind of a market point of view, right? So always when you see me look down, what I'm doing is I've got this iPad here and I just use this as my notepad. So right off the bat, right, the first thing that you note is that XLRE, which is our real estate index, was the strongest on the week. And not only that, if we, I think if I just highlight, yeah, if I highlight here, there you go, highlights that one. So you can see that not only was it the strongest of the week, but it was a nice slow uptrend, which is good. And note on Thursday there, I can't point here, I can, so I'll point. So this is Thursday, and then I'll go back over here. When the whole market gap down, looks like it didn't do that bad, and then again closed the week super strong. So I'm going to take a look at that chart. I always like to look at the top and the bottom, and the bottom here is energy, which is XLE, and that's just gotten hammered. And not only hammered, but incredibly volatile too, right? If you look at just the range from the top to the bottom of most of these, and then you go look at the XLE, you can see how much more volatile that is. So maybe short-term turning point, I don't know. And then the rest are just kind of a mixed bag, right? You know, a lot of these are going to have some correlation within themselves. So I want to look at the strong and the weak. So we're going to look at XLK as well. So you can either look at XLK or you can look at the Qs, and you're going to get close to the same type of idea. So that's what I do first. I go in there and take a look at that. And then let's go and firstly, just I guess a quick mention on Bitcoin. I'm not really looking at any of this until something happens here, right? And just for a history lesson for everybody, people who may not have been, come on, TrendSpider, no more data. I think I have to do it on an exchange. BTC USD on Kraken. I know has been around since here. Yeah, so let's zoom into, and this is a weekly chart, to around here. So you can see the last time we had a major crash, it was down here from bottom. My screen's cut off. Oops. Didn't. All right, guys, I apologize. Let me get my life in order here. There, and then there, and then we'll go back to that one and shrink my mug a bit. So yeah, so you can see that from November 2018 until March 2019 we're range bound in Bitcoin, right? So people who tried to play in here, and I did a little bit, got chopped up, right? If you had just waited for one of those to clear and to close, it gave you a good kind of second chance to get going. So that's why I just don't. And the people who from StatsEdge know that when I do my research each night, like before I had 5 or 6 coins that I was watching and things were interesting. But now, since like the last 2 weeks, I just post this chart and basically say, wake me when something happens, because until we break and close out of one of these ranges or break significantly, I'm not really interested. And you look at the daily charts, just more of the same, right? It's, 40,000 to say 30,000. It's just could be there for ages, right? Hold on 1 second. So again, that's going to be it for crypto. ADA, I like the look of ADA USD more than the rest, just because it's doing its base way up here, whereas the rest of them are doing their base in the middle. the but there's just nothing to do with Bitcoin, so let's just get rid of that. So let's take a look at the SPY first. Again, I love weekly candles. I love daily candles. This is something I got from JC at All Star Charts. If you don't do it, if you're not, looking at this thing, I would. A lot of us are day and short-term swing traders, and we kind of, myself, I did a lot, get kind of stuck in the, minutia of it all, right? You're focused entirely on your time frame. So it's really good, I find, to zoom out, and I like to do that on weekly charts. So again, insanely strong, bullish uptrend. No reason to think there's going to be a top, right? Ignore all the doomsayers that come out every time we have a downtick. Close at the top here. I've seen some people say, oh, look, it's a hanging man, but so is this one, and so is this one, and so is this one. So, not a trend I'm going to fight. I think this is going to go until you guys replace your Fed chairman. I don't know exactly how that works down there. I think they're on terms. Maybe the new one will have a little bit of a different opinion, but, until then, don't fight that. Then we're going to look at the XLRE. And then we're going to look at them all daily. So this is a great, very strong looking pattern. There was someone, was that you, Brett? Or was that Mike? Let me look at in our chat. My memory is just the absolute worst. Yeah, it was you, Brett. I think. I can't find it. My memory is just the worst. But yeah, was in a lot of these names. This actually looks great. So this weekly pattern, if we just kind of draw this out, which let's actually just draw it out. I got this new cool thing that I learned. Yeah. Every time I open this and I hit this button, my iPad just like turns into the chart. But yeah, so, kind of name this pattern, right? If we draw that in like that, I don't know, let's zoom in a bit. Right, we draw this down like this and that down like that, covering that price action, and we got to pull up there, right? Yeah, I knew that was you. Right, obvious bull flag going on there. If we actually go and take a look at the candle itself that it closed on, right? So we're focused on this candle right here. It opened near the lows. The pullback seemed to be weaker than that pullback we got in the SPY, and then it closed kind of right at the highs, which puts it kind of right above those two highs right there. So real estate not only strong this week, looks strong next week. Just relatively speaking, we seem to have some strength over the market. Those are kind of boring stocks. Oh, don't worry, Michael. These YouTube, I don't know how long YouTube takes to process them, but as soon as I click stop, YouTube starts putting them up on the list there. So that's good. So XLE I wanted to look at because that was hammered, and then we'll rip through the daily charts too. But see, that still doesn't look that bad to me. Right, it's holding this support kind of right in this area. Let's just resize this box, right? So let's call that, if I just go over here, right? So it's got this little support area there, pulled back into it. Obviously some relative weakness, but, could just be a, right, pullback just like that, if this, so I would just watch the low of this candle on XLE. That looks interesting. Well, yeah, Brett, the XLRE, which is just real estate, it's probably easier for me to say, does look really good. I would just say, if you're looking at weekly charts, you got to understand that, if next week's an inside week or next week's a red week, it's just going to be, when you're looking at weekly charts, I guess an okay time for rant. So I look at my time frame I'm looking on, I'm always trying to predict like the next 4 or 5 candles, right? So if I'm looking at the daily chart, I'm trying to predict whatever the next 5 candles are. So if you're looking at the weekly chart, I would say you're more looking at like a monthly kind of a push, right? And then XLK has just been stronger than everything, and we could look at the same with the Qs. The last thing I want to look at the weekly charts before we do our daily. So this is going to be a long Stats Edge post for you guys. It'll probably be tomorrow. Is the IWM, and it's because when the IWM, and we'll switch over to daily here. I think this will demonstrate this a little better. When we go into the daily chart, you can see if I take this, which has just been in, a 5-month base, and then I compare that to the SPY, right? You can see how much stronger the SPY has been relative to the small caps, and most of us. I'm not, and I'm not a micro cap super scalper guy, but most of us trade smaller cap stocks. So, what I would say is for those who seem to have kind of an aversion to bigger names, you may want to check out bigger names because the SPY, which is larger names, is in a stronger trend than IWM, right? That's kind of the synopsis that I would see there. So, to summarize, and let's just go through some of these quicker, right? So if I go through XLK, and again, you want to have the image of the first chart. It might be better if I do the Qs. Yeah. So you can see how kind of long in the tooth this trend is getting with the Qs. Kind of the same with XLK. If you just look at from lows to highs, these are starting to look a little bit overextended, but obviously very strong. Right, and then IWM, we're in a range, and the SPY, we're looking really strong. If we go to XLRE, right, same kind of, like my favorite type of pattern is what I'm seeing here, is these rounded type of bottoms. I think make for some great trading where okay, cool. Yeah, so these rounded J hook patterns, I've heard them be called, right? But these rounded bottoms, but happening in the context of an overall uptrend, are one of my favorite patterns. And it looks like we're just getting this. So basically, what I'm saying is for next week, I wouldn't be shocked to maybe see a little bit of a chop, and then maybe the week after goes. But maybe this is really strong. You just got to know that the real estate industry is generally a pretty muted industry. It's not like a huge mover. So, well, yeah, Sam. So right now it's, generally speaking, a cup and handle. People look at bearish as reversal formations. But this could, and that's kind of what I'm saying, is just because we were at the highs here, it could bounce around. Like I wouldn't be shocked to see this kind of bounce around next week and then kind of break, right? So what that would look on the weekly chart, and this is why it's just interesting to always start looking at multiple time frames, is what that would look like on the weekly chart is an inside bar at this resistance and then a break of that inside bar, right? And then this kind of J hook pattern would just have a little week or two of rest and then go, right? Or you never know, right? There's a lot of inflationary news next week, so I think we'll know a lot from that. XLE looks interesting, especially because we bounced off this lower line. However, it's got a lot of overhead resistance, kind of same as the IWM, right? When we did IWM here. It looks good, but it still has this resistance overhead it's got to get through. So not nearly as strong as the other ones. And that is it for the market analysis. So let's take a look at the stock videos I put up this week. Let's go to Yeah, YouTube Studio. And oh, okay, so that's up. I did that R compound trading video. I'm gonna plug that in case anyone. I just got 300 views. Maybe most of you have saw it, but if you haven't, I put a little extra time and energy on this guy, and I think it's valuable to look at. So I would check that out. SFIX was the first one from last week. No trade, which you're going to hear a lot with these wrap ups. Basically, it looked like this ish. It was only a 4-day week, but it was basically right before this candle, right? So obviously, when we didn't break out of the area I was interested in, and this candle occurred, I'm no longer interested. Now, if we get back up here and maybe we base some more, might be time to put it back on the watch list, but it's not even something I'm watching right now. RDNT. Let's take this one off so things look a little bit more sensical. And this may be a small rant. So basically, RDNT we were looking at right here, and I was looking for it to break out of this wedge. Did that on Wednesday, and I got long Wednesday at a pretty good price near the low of this candle. So then Friday, we opened up way down here. It never quite got under where I would have stopped out under the resistance area, but what I did, and this is something I do a lot when we have kind of scary opens like that, and my stocks are gapping down a lot. So just something for a thought process is what I do is I wait for the first 15 minutes to a half hour to occur, right? So this thing gapped down, right? I was very near the stop, but I usually don't. If it gaps that near the stop, I usually cancel it just to let a bit of wiggle go through. And then what I do is I wait for that first half hour of trading, and then I mark the low. So basically what I did is after this first 15 minutes of trading, I took the stop from wherever it was and I raised it up just a little bit under this low. And the reason I do that is because if you're going to gap down and the market's going to fall apart, I've noticed that happens a little bit earlier. So I just want to make sure that, I've got my line in the sand. There it is. I'm protected. And then that was great. And then today, it doesn't even show it on this chart, but if you go to the daily, it got me all excited because there was a couple prints that went off at $40. So in the pre-market, I offered, I think, $39.50 and left my order out there the whole time, but those were just bad ticks or something. So I am still in this one. I'm up, I think, ever so slightly on it. Basically a break-even trade. QDEL. I'm not in QDEL. I know. Oh no, I am in QDEL. I was thinking about QFIN, the other. That's unrelated. Let me see. I don't remember exactly where, but this is the start of a new trading setup that I'm trying where I'm looking for stocks that have broken out of areas and put in these strong moves and then come back to them. And I'm bidding in these areas, which is a little bit different from how I normally trade, but something I want to get a little better at. I think I ranted about this in the last one. So QDEL, but like super, super small. And that's why I didn't really think of it. Because if it's a new trading style, I always trade like well under. If I usually risk, just to make the math easy, if I usually risk $1,000 a trade on an old strategy, I'll risk like 250 on a new one, just to get a feel of it. Last was ZEdge from yesterday. No trade, but I'm still interested in this one. I like this one because it had this big gap down, and that was met with buyers. It actually closed relatively strong to the market. So, right, the market didn't quite beat yesterday's close, but this one closed right at its high. And then it's just a strong stock that looks like, right, it had this breakout, right, pull back. So basically looking to see if it can get, I think this candle is the one to watch. And that's what I did for this week. So now I'm going to start scanning. And at the same time, feel free to ask questions, right? There's no reason for me to do this live if I'm not going to get questions from you guys. But so if we want to start a conversation, cool. But now is the less interesting part, where because what I'm doing is just going through and scanning, trying to figure out what to do a video about for tonight, and then also hey girl, hi, dog came to visit. So let's quickly just start going through scans. So as always, what I do is I take a look at this, right? So the market's at all-time highs. I'm basically looking for some different ones. So the one I'm doing right now, Sam, the reason I've got my camera where it is, because I can't show you, it is something that's kind of being worked on internally within Trade Ideas. So to keep them happy, I have to keep this one a little bit hidden. The other ones I'll definitely show. And then again, Stats Edge Trading, you've got a website that's got access to all my scans and what they look for and things like that. So the two things that I found performed best last week were the ones that, like what we saw in XLRE, the kind of rounded type pullback and continuations. Those worked really well. And then we had one, and I missed an awesome one from today. These bigger rounded bottoms seem to be happening. So it just means I think that following these trends kind of seem to be the way to go right now. So what I'm looking for is stronger type stocks that have pulled back or are starting to base higher. Kind of like this, but it's a little bit slow, this one. So we'll move on. There's a storm going on outside, so the dogs are all over me right now because they're bored. So coin, I'm just taking a look at I'm already in coin, but I'm just kind of looking at it for just to see how it closed. We had this on the list for Stats Edge Trading, I think yesterday. Is that when I put it on? Maybe before then. So I'm in kind of, I'd say, halfway through this candle-ish. And this was just what I was talking about before. These rounded bottom type plays seem to be looking good. So I'm in some coin here. Let's go through. Yeah, put in symbols too if you're interested to have me look at symbols. What I'll do is I'll do my trading or my scanning first, and then with whatever time we have left, I can take a look at your symbols. And just do a little analysis of those. I'm half tempted to go get a beer. Is that inappropriate? It is 5:30 on a Friday, right? I think I'm going to add this First Solar in here. Nah. That's just me being bored. Sorry, texting the wife. Just bringing home supper because I'm too lazy. Market's got me sleepy. Ugh. Why'd I have to find this on one of my scans? This is the one I was telling you guys that I missed. And I missed just because I was just being super greedy on this entry. Oh, that would have been so good. Was that so closed up 28%? It was probably up like what 50-60% at one point today. Is what it is. Business associations. This means SPAC, right? Oh no. Rare earth materials. And for you guys that are excited about the docked layout, they're getting very, like, I've heard talk about them releasing the version. Okay, so that's from IPO. We've had the first version where no one had like a big complaint of something just like breaking entirely. All right, I'm gonna add this MP. Sorry, I'm laughing. The wife's texting me on her way home, and she was like, "Do you want me to drive by A&W?" And Siri's translating it to Ian period W, like a guy's name, and I'm a child, so I think that's hilarious. mRNA, same kind of look, right? And this is just what I've been trading in this market that's actually been working very well. Is just wait for it to have a strong move, wait for it to pull back and test, and then take that second move. And that's been working out well. I'm really trying, as the guys within Stats Edge know, working on these kind of pullback and last hour strats, which I don't think I'll talk much about outside of there, but just seems like the pullback's the way to go right now. This is another, so scanning in and of itself create some good clues if you pay attention. Like, I'm not finding anything, an earlier me would keep going until I reached a certain amount of stocks, right? Until I reached a certain amount of, okay, I want to put 5 things on my list. I'm going to scan until I get 5 things on my list. Now I've got, I'll go through a few hundred companies. And sometimes only have like 1 or 2. And rarely, but sometimes we'll have none. And then I glean interest from that, right? Like right now, I'm not finding anything that's that looks good to me, right? It's a lot of mess. That's something that when you're doing your scanning, if you're seeing that, you should take that as a cue, right? It might mean, back off Monday, right? Just let things, don't do as much, let things work, and go from there. I do like Trade Desk. Basically just because, right, this was very important resistance that we fell all the way down here. We retook it, and then we pulled back. That seems to be holding as support, and now we're putting in this bull flag. So it's a bull flag in conjunction with this area here that was prior resistance that now may become support. So that's worthwhile watching. And again, it's one of those things that you're not going to catch everything, so there's no sense looking for everything. And I just find the harder I have to reach, the... Oh, that's interesting. The harder I have to reach, the crappier the trading strats are. So I was talking to someone about Wing. I can't remember. Again, I've got the worst memory. But I think it was way down here, and I said, oh, no, it's got to get up back to 160. And it looks like this 160 seems to be the zone. And we're kind of budding against that now. So I'm going to keep an eye on Wing. Action successful. Hold on. Excellent connection. I was dead, and now I think I'm back. I don't know if I'm back. Connecting stream. Okay, I think I'm back. Am I back? Might be more of that. Assuming I'm back. We're getting the remnants of basically I'm good. I'm back. Okay. I live like above New York in Canada, basically, above and out to the sea. So we're getting kind of the remnants of Elsa kicking around. So that's what's going on. Okay. So I don't know what I missed. I think I was just ranting that I'm not finding anything, and if I'm not finding anything, then that's just gonna that's the way it is. So this is the last one I'm gonna look at, just to go with my whole Flight. Flight was a break-even trade, but man, it's looking like it's setting up here again. So I'm gonna put that back on. Try. So yeah, Flight I looked at right here on that doji, and then I bought the next day around, I don't know, somewhere around here-ish. We got a pretty good pop. I sold some of my position, and then it came down and took out that low, so I got profit on some, and just because that's the choppy nature of the market right now. So I got profit on half, and I got stopped on half, so net break even. So this is just a straight pullback scan for the pro people. This one's just I think it's just called pullback. So it's just looking for stocks that are pulling back and are near their 20 period MA. And then the theory is just to buy into try to find where it's not just a 20 period MA, because I don't think there's any value in that. Oh, there's QDEL, which is interesting. But to also line that up with some prior support or resistance or something like that. Right, something that's very, very strong, but pulling back, right? That's what I want, is just that's kind of my life, right? I just want the little bit. I don't want the full trend. I just want, right, if it can pull back and then it can give me kind of one more shot, then I'm good. I'll get in, I'll take my money for that last shot, and I'll get out. SWBI is working very well. I've been watching EXPI back and forth too. That one looks interesting. I think that may have been one of the videos where this thing's just struggling with this 40, but it's one of those things, right? Came up, hit 40. Look how far it pulled back the first time. Came up and hit 40 again. If it's going to pull back and make a higher low here and then break 40, right? If you can even get some in anticipation of 40, then you're getting some in this, before the triangle starts. And Is that all the... Oh no, they've been around for a while. Okay, so it's fairly strong. It's a slow mover. And when I go through this scan, I think that will probably be the end of it, just because I don't want to push my luck with... I can see it starting to become a bit nasty out there. It's supposed to go like that all weekend. Which I love that I can still get the pro product and everything to everyone, even if my stuff explodes, right? I can just tether my phone to my iPad and I can do it on there. 5 is interesting. Yeah, just not seeing... It's like, how do I describe the feeling? It's like everything that was going to go has gone. And the things that haven't gone yet don't look like they're going to go. So that might be a stupid description, but... Right, and that's one of the hardest markets to trade, is one that just grinds into all-time highs like we're having. So... I know I said I was just going to finish that scan, but I'm just going to try... one more look on this. Go. I don't know how long I've been watching Go. I feel like I just shouldn't anymore. Okay. I think it's been enough time that I can take a look at WVE again. It hurt me before, but, right, pulling back into this prior resistance, right? So resistance here, support here, pulling back into it, broke out today. Right, maybe it gets from 7 to 8. We're wrong at like 6.50. So risk 50 cents. Pretty easy to get 2 times. So wave is going to be the symbol for next week, I think. It just hit me. All right, so I see some symbols. I'm going to go for maybe 10 minutes or so. So when the wife gets here with supper, or 5 to 5, whichever happens first kind of thing. So let me take a look. Let's see. So I see a lot of them here, so I'm going to go pretty quick, not looking to be rude, but it's just the way it is. I don't like this one. And again, when I always yell at you that it's overextended, basically what I'm just saying is that you could maybe get away with a stop here. Probably you're going to have to put a stop here. So you're going to have to put a stop 5 points away. So what do I think the odds are it gets 10 points away, which is right here. And that's just, I need too much out of that, is kind of maybe a better way to put it. KMBE. Oh, MTIQ. If it's yesterday's IPO, then I don't have MITQ. I don't have enough data. Yeah, I don't. As a technical guy, there's just nothing there for me to look at. KNBE. That one looks interesting. Again, I would have liked it better closer to the end of the pullback. Maybe if it chops sideways. Weekly, same thing. Right? It's gone from, it's basically what, a 20% pop in 4 days, non-stop. Like, I just can't get myself to buy something after a 20% up move. Fur is interesting. I like this one. This one's a little more interesting just because you have a base here that's been chopping for a while. Right, so you could probably stop it out somewhere around here And then could I get double that? Well, if it gets near highs. So VER is a little interesting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 green candles in a row would be enough for me to say I want at least a pullback or something. Curious to think if Amazon will make a sustained breakout. I would argue Amazon already made a sustained breakout, right? So from 3020 to 3007 with just a little blip of a pullback. So that's a bit of an extended move, but Amazon can get extended. I wouldn't buy it up here. If you're like a longer term trader and you're like looking at the weekly, yeah, maybe, but I always like a retest of the breakout point. Again, just a little bit far. Peloton. Oh yeah, friggin' Peloton. When everything else was going to hell on Thursday, this one was actually doing okay. Close at lows, so basically I don't like this candle for Peloton. I was looking at Peloton earlier in the week. I didn't end up taking it because it just gapped and ran and then crashed back down that day, but it's okay. Again, when I get better at pullbacks, yeah, I may put out a bid somewhere in this area and then test it, but I have a lot of work to do. That's like me learning a new trading style is kind of like learning a new language, right? But I do a lot of really scientific kind of tests, but I think trading pullbacks would probably be, in the long run, if you got good at it, one of the best ways to trade. I've just never had I just never been good at it. So that's what I'm working on now, is to kind of add that to my repertoire to see if I can get better. So yeah, so I like this Peloton. I think if you're buying it on a pullback, you got to try to get in this area. If you're buying it on a kind of a flag or a breakout, well, it's got a long way to go to get there. It's got to jump 10 points or so to get to your breakout area. So, right, you got to... $21.5. See, yeah, $21.5 for me is right smack, right? So if we draw out the flag, right, like that, I would say you either gotta, get it closer to this area, or you gotta buy a break of the flag. I just wouldn't take it at 121.50 because that's just kind of smack in the middle of that range, right? I make it do something, one way or the other. It's kind of like a written in giant letters in my trading plan, is make the stock do something. UAVS. UAVS near support. That's about it. Right? So if you're a support player, you could take a shot there. And you know where you're wrong. It is kind of a setup I like. It's got a lot overhead though. I like a low and then kind of assuming it turns here, a failure to make a lower low. I like that kind of second wave up type pattern, but it's just got a lot to get through. And I always look, anytime I see something like this, right, you got to think about it. Everybody here is a bag holder. Everyone here has had an awful, awful time. So as this thing pops, you're going to have to deal with all of these people saying, oh, I'm finally back to break even and selling, and I'm finally back to break even and selling. So whenever you get that big up and big down, it's a little less interesting. If that happens slower, a little bit over time, maybe it'd be all right, but yeah. TH. Hey, let me zoom in. There you go. I don't really see anything here. It's just in the middle of its range. hotels except casinos. It's a hotel company. It's gonna have a lot to do with like the variants and stuff. I don't know. It just seems chopping around to me. VOC. I missed that one. 125,000 shares. 100,000 share average daily volume's a little low for me, and it's a real slow mover, right? So from here to here is $1. So you'd have had to sit a long time for $1. But just not a. And again, it's part of it's because I'm super picky, right? Is I have these rules that I follow, and that's the end of them. So yeah, so I'm not going to talk too much about Stats Edge Pro just because I want to make sure I get this video done before my power goes out. But just stay tuned to the channel for tomorrow. I'm actually going to email out. I have an email list on my website. If you haven't gone, it's in the description link below. So I'm going to actually do an email when this video is out, just because I figure if people signed up for my email list, they want to know more about the product. And as people know, I don't spam them. You guys get one email a week, and then maybe two if I do a cool blog post or something. But you can sign up in the description down there below. The link is in the description below for people watching this after the fact. I'll pop it in chat there for you guys. But basically, if you're interested, put it on that list. Long story short is there's a description in the top left of what it is. But I've got a whole video coming out that's like a 6-7 minute video where I break down kind of what everything is and how to use it and all of that. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to actually take off here because I'm going to make that short video before they knock out my power. And then for the Stats Edge Pro people, I'll ping you in Discord when the watch list and analysis is up. Probably not going to do it tonight, so tomorrow afternoon or so. Is when you'll get that. So again, thanks everyone for coming out. Trade safe out there. Next week's going to be a more exciting week. We have earnings starting up. We have news coming back. It's not a shortened weekend. So I did a whole lot of nothing. I had some really good ones this week that I just rode, and then kind of ignored the rest of it just because everything was so slow. I think next week is going to be much, much better. So look forward to that, and I will talk to you guys soon.